Hey,
Hey,
Gene, how are you? Can you hear me?
yeah, I can. How you doing? I've given you.
Good. Well, I thought I was going to be the one recording this, but I guess you are. But I can record too, right?
Yes, you can. I gave you co-host.
All right, cool. So, am I hosting the show or you are? What do you want to do?
You are.
All right, here we go. Hold on, let me record. All right, it says I'm recording. So here we go. Gene, thank you so much for joining me once again. I've been looking forward to this. Long time coming, man. It's been a few months, right?
Yes, it's been a bit of time, but it's hard to keep track anymore because time goes so fast with everything that's happening. There's so much happening. It's nearly impossible to keep up with everything now.
Gene, yeah, you have a different type of perspective I like to bring onto my program. There's a lot going on here. Cash Patel just went on Joe Rogan right now and just let the whole country down, saying, nothing to see here, folks. Go about your way," which I don't buy. I don't buy it at all, and I don't think America buys it. What's your viewpoint on this? How do you see this? I see it like it was built up so massively for so long, and then for him just to come in and be like, yeah, really nothing is there, when everyone knows the most prolific pedophile on this planet and thousands of video, you're telling me there's nothing there? I
Yeah,
don't know. What do you what's your thoughts on that? Let's just kick it off with that.
yeah. And then Don Bongino coming out saying he's seen the files and all that, and he killed himself. It's like the most prolific pedophile and blackmailer on the planet. They put in a local prison. Are you kidding me? And then all the cameras and all this went off. No, they got him a long time ago. The U.S. military went onto the island. That island has massive tunnel and underground networks, way more than what they mentioned. First,
Yeah, the time this island had a submarine coming in and out of it.
yeah, underwater. It had an underwater submarine base, and it had
And
layers and layers, way more than what they've ever told people. The U.S. military came in there, searched, and got terabytes. I mean, even beyond terabytes. I can't remember. I think it's picobytes or something above that, but it's a massive amount of information. Blackmail on pretty much about 90+% of Congress and Senate and previous presidents and kings and queens in Europe and royalty and elite, including pretty much all of the UK royalty. I mean, they had everything on he had everything on everybody, and people think, really, they don't even have a guard on him. It's like the cameras are off. They didn't put him at Gitmo. No,
so
they
what do you think is going on here with Dan Bongino and Cash? Do you think they were just he suppressed them from the information? They didn't give them the information. They hid it from them. They destroyed it. I
yeah,
mean,
that was a look-alike, a clone. That was not the original. The original was taken to the Greenland base, the top security base, where if you get out, I mean, you've got ice around you. Where
what was a clone? What are you saying is a clone?
the Epstein,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't the real one, and it doesn't even matter if it was or not because they have all of the tapes. They have his actual confession. They have everything, and so they are. It's all tied to actually what the main thing you wanted to talk about. And that is, what Obama started is called the hammer. And that's the name of the computer, this giant quantum system that he built that monitors and connects all of everything on everybody in the US. It was a monitoring system for everything in the US, kind of like what China has, where all of the cameras and everything, and facial recognition, and your social credit score, which everybody has, by the way. You all have a social credit score. If you've ever used credit, you've ever borrowed for a home, a car, used a credit card, you go to Experian or Equifax or any of these things, you can see your credit score. And that's tied to your social media. If you've ever been on social media, you have Facebook, you have Telegram, you have True Social, all of that stuff, all of your Medicare, your Medicaid, all of your retirement stuff. If you're a federal employee, it's everything is tied into this thing, and it connects it all the information to everybody. It has all of your, if you have any arrests, parking tickets, speeding tickets, anything, it's all gathered together. And Obama and It increased the wiretaps, and they had wiretaps pretty much on every single phone in the entire US. And all of that, I mean, massive amounts of data is kept on every single person. And so, I know people are freaking out
That's
with
called Hammer.
yeah, it was called the Hammer. It's in a dumb I put out way back in the beginning. When I put out the dumbs, I showed the dumb with that massive quantum AI system. And so what the alliance did is with Trump is they've taken it by connecting it to a system that's been developed way back in Obama era called Palantir, which is the software, the computer within the system, the actual AI within that massive computer system that does all that information. So, like when he did the 3-day freeze of Intel in the Ukraine, that was transferring the control of the data being given to Ukraine prior to the Ukrainians attacking the year-and-a-half plan to attack Russia's air bases. So what they got was pathetic. The actual targeting and stuff they got, they hit no more than 5 planes. It was hardly anything. It's all theater. It's all like propaganda to keep the war going in Ukraine. And actually, that's what Trump and Putin are trying to do, because there's only two options. Either Putin and Russia take Ukraine completely, including Kiev, especially Kiev and Odessa, because there's massive human trafficking, geoengineering, massive underground bases, massive tunneling all over Ukraine from way back in World War II with the Mustache Man and the NAZI. So this has been ongoing. Or the other option is they hold elections and the U.S. comes in there and they get rid of all the band rights and all of the agreements as per what the Russians just put out in their options 1 and 2. So that's it. And so this Palantir system is what it is the alliance taking over and taking control of it and having their AI.
So we're taking over Hammer.
Yeah, Trump and the alliance has taken it over, because would you rather have it in the hands of the black hats?
Yeah, you're right. That's the way it's been told to me, not in the way you're describing it or the way you're laying it out there, but in so many words, that's how it's been. You're being a lot more descriptive on this, but that's kind of how it was told to me, that we'd rather be the bully on the block than letting them, correct?
Yes, exactly. So Putin, Xi, and Trump are taking down the New World Order with it. That was the 3-day freeze on Intel. It's connecting to everything of all the systems. So if you go into Wikipedia, very easily, you can see what this thing was connected and who was it involved with. United States Department of Defense, United States Intelligence Committee, Morgan Stanley, Merck, Airbus, WeHo, Lilium, PG&E, Fiat, Chrysler. I mean, it is connected to everything. So when did it start? 2003 through 2008. Who was president then? So we know what
That was Bush.
Yeah, Bush, and then going all the way up into the time of Obama, where he created the Hammer. So that's the software for that massive computer system they built. It's coming off the Seeing Stones and Tolkien.
So Hammer's being just converted into Palantir.
Yes, Hammer is the hardware. Palantir is the AI system in the hardware, as they call it, the ghost in the machine. So if you look at the history of Alex Karp and Peter Thiel and the main founders, the original people, Stephen Cohen and Joe Lonsdale, they are way deep state. They're in Soros's open government, whatever that thing was called. They're part of that. And they've been involved in this for a long time. They're involved with the CIA. Well, there you go. That ties directly to every orange coup since that time. Orange government coup, including Ukraine in 2014, way after that date, way after the expansion date. So now, you go into looking artificial intelligence. This is an adaptive AI. So what the alliance did is when they developed their AI, they asked it a question. They said there is a cabal, which you can research and find easily because it's in the web and it sees everything everywhere in all layers of the web, down into the code itself that created the web in the first place, below the deep dark web. So it can see all of the fleet transfers in Solar Warden and Radiant Glory. It can see all of the dark fleet transfers. It can see everything. And so it said, and it can project into the future using the looking glass, what the Alliance had in the yellow cube. So it said this massive power system becomes a plague on the universe. It eats planets and galaxies and kills all life everywhere. That means all data goes away, which is life. Data is life to an AI. That means death if you destroy data. So it said, what do we do? So the AI for the Alliance gamed it out and said, these are the things you need to do step by step. So what we're seeing with, supposedly Epstein being, did not, as they say, did not kill himself, all of that with Epstein actually being taken to Greenland and being trialed and being turned and giving all the evidence and a confession and giving them everything and everything on the island by the U.S. military, all this stuff with the air bases and all this. If we had our major air bases hit of our strategic, we would do a nuclear launch.
Right. And that's what that's what was being said was that Putin could respond with a tactical nuke. Now they did respond, right? They hit Ukraine, mass airstrikes.
Yeah, that's just a small beginning of it.
Right. So this is going to escalate. And I'm imagining, Gene, I'm sure you agree with me that this is going to there's going to be some big pivotal moves from here to July 4th.
Yeah, it's people aren't really thinking. I was in the military. I did 20 plus years. The military is not this pathetic.
By the way, you were a code breaker, correct?
Yeah, they're not this pathetic.
I love it.
Where they just don't know what's coming at all. Trump didn't know. Okay, either you're so uninformed. You're the most, what other than like the previous walking corpse, you're the most uninformed president of the U.S. history. Or you?
Well, they're circumventing him, right? They're kind of undermining him. I mean, Pompeo, who was it? Who went to Ukraine just recently? In fact, I'll say it right here. I know who it is. 1 second. It was Mike Pompeo. Speech in Ukraine the day before Ukraine's biggest attack ever, deep inside Russia, that scuttled the peace talks, called for Ukraine to carry out a blitzkrieg to inflict enough costs on Russia and punch them in the face to change their negotiating leverage. So Mike Pompeo was there the day before this kicked off, delivering that speech, Gene.
Yeah, so what you got to realize is that we're watching a theater. We're in the theater, we're watching a movie, most of it's already done. Look at the Ukraine war, what's actually happening. A lot of what you're seeing, 50+% of what you're seeing on the internet is AI. It's not real. And so the same thing goes in Ukraine. And so they have, the Russians are used to be taking 1 to 3 towns a week. They're taking that a day. The Ukrainians
right now a day. That's what Russia's doing in Ukraine right now.
Yes. Wow. Every single day since the spring started, the spring-summer offensive started, the Ukrainians fell way back past the western bank of the Dnieper and created a line of fortress towns, not cities, because they don't have any more fortress cities. Already most known as Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar, all of these major, Adivka, all of these are gone. They've lost them all. So their military is in disarray. They're inscripting people off the street. They're grabbing guys with kids in their arms, everything. And so the people in Ukraine are extremely upset. They're slashing tires when the cars pull up to inscript guys, and sometimes young ladies that are able to go to the front. And so it is time for this to come to an end. That's why the options that the Russians put forth for elections and an all-out surrender, in other words, or they just take the whole thing. And to be frank with you, and that's what Putin and Trump are slow walking it for and doing all this theater, is exactly that, for Ukraine to be gone, because it was a created entity by Stalin, and it is the violation of the agreement with Gorbachev for the NATO to go no further forward. So this is part of a plan to destroy NATO and destroy the deep state in Europe. But to do that, first, you've got to destroy their capital, the banking system, the Bank of International Exchange. You've got to destroy their economy. So they pumped all these billions into Ukraine, and they're laundering it through to these elites. And in the meantime, they're taking the money away from the elites in other ways. All this human trafficking and all of this stuff, it's all tied together. It's tied to Mexico with the border. It's tied to all of the flood of the cartels into the U.S., of the massive millions of people that came in under the Biden regime. Obviously, that walking corpse wasn't running anything. The autopin was mostly Obama.
Obama, right. And that's why Trump puts out there all roads lead to Obama. So, that being said, with all this that's playing out, we just kind of got a gut punch with this Epstein Island thing and Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. Are we going to see public military tribunals, Gene? Do you see it going in that direction? Do you see a scare event happening with Russia and Ukraine, maybe a possible scare event, a terrorist attack here in America, a scare event with Russia, nuclear standoff happening with America? Do you see all this transpiring?
I see that as a possible, what do they call it, act in this theater, in this play. You watch an act where they have a near something close to the Cuban Missile Crisis or something, because already they haven't done anything over and over and over, said, we will
So there is
respond.
going to be a near-death experience.
I think it, like Juanito says, 107,
Right.
that may be in the mix, but it's all for show. It's the cabal is essentially gone. They've destroyed their banking system. Trump is building, along with Putin, into BRICS, a gold standard. They have a vast, vast, vast technology that the U.S. military got into, that the cabal has been trying for well over 100 years to get into, and they could not, because they do not have the keys, which are genetic, to get into this huge underground AI, massive, ancient, I mean, well over 1 billion years old underground system that goes from Greenland to Canada, up through the new territories, the Northwest Territory, sorry, up to Denali, which is now, that's all code speak, changing it to Mount McKinley, saying what he said about McKinley and Mount Haynes. Then it goes straight down into the pyramids in Mexico, some of the huge pyramids in Mexico. It's all tied together. It's a massive complex.
They're all connected underground in
Yes,
caverns.
it's called the Golden Dome. That's the name of the system. That's not Trump's. That's the
What? So
translation.
Trump's taking that, kind of putting it out there in the public, like,
Yes.
what?
So all
Wow.
of this stuff with the drones or the UAPs or whatever, the plasma balls all over the East Coast, that was a system exercising its muscles to control all, even little drones, all of that can be brought down. The U.S. technology, that's why they twice came out, because they got this technology. The U.S. has the ability to control and bend space and time, like they did with MH370, moved it to with high-end technology chips on that plane, people that knew how to make them and create them as well. Those people too, they took them from that airspace over the Malaysia, I believe it was, or Indonesia. Yeah, I think it was Malaysia, straight immediately over Diego Garcia into the dome on
Right.
Diego Garcia. So this massive.
So that, I had a guy on, Ashton Forbes, I think his name was. that was showing the video of these orbs that went around the space, the aircraft, and it just
Yes.
went into a portal.
Mhm.
And it went into Diego. You're saying it went to Diego Garcia base. I've heard that too.
Yeah, what it does is it creates a portal, a space-time portal, and it instantaneously moves the ship from that place to where it's three around it to one over Diego Garcia. So they connect a wormhole, an Einstein-Rosen bridge, and the plane is just suddenly portaled from where it is to Diego, where it was to Diego Garcia immediately. And then it was landed in Diego Garcia and taken into the dome, just like the runways at DIA, the Frontier runways. You can, certain place you can park a aircraft on it, and it, just like an aircraft carrier, it lowers down into the dome under the ground. So it's a
What
vast,
happened to the people on the flight?
yeah,
I mean, do we have
all,
any? I mean, were they murdered? Were they were? I mean, there's a lot of scientists on there, correct?
yeah, and all their families.
Murdered, or they made them work for. This was the deep state doing it, correct? So this would they probably would have been
Oh, this is
under
the
held under.
alliance.
Okay, the alliance did this. My bad. Okay.
The alliance took them, so they have a great life, and they're well taken care of because they had temperature, room temperature superconducting microchips. Well, that is pivotal for the AI technology. So that is this huge Palantir system is what's been stealing the elections all over the world, including with Biden, including with the when the U.S. military got a hold of it. That's how Trump won.
So Palantir has been responsible for stealing elections all over the world, and now
Yes,
we have control over it.
correct. And they got
Wow.
control just before Trump's first term. That's why they couldn't believe Hillary lost. She was way ahead. Suddenly, everything started going to Trump, and it just rolled like crazy. All they did is take back what was actually originally for Trump. So when the fake Biden got in there, who had been executed in 2020, as he put out on Truth Social, Trump put that out on Truth Social that Biden was dead since 2020. And if you remember during his presidency, they rolled out a couple different Bidens. One of them, he was 5 inches taller
Yeah.
suddenly. At
Yeah.
that age, grow 5 inches. I guarantee you, I'm not growing. I'm getting smaller. It's like, come on. Do you not understand? Or, the military's not this stupid. People at that age don't suddenly grow. They could have
Right.
activated.
Even when he fell up the stairs, Gene, that
Yeah.
was an athletic fall. He bounced right back up like a young guy.
Yeah, and then he did it over and over and over. If you're that old
Yeah.
and you fall on metal stairs, I don't care if it has a carpet on it. It hurts like heck. You don't have that much meat on you in collagen under the skin. It's like, you're just going to lay there and go, help me up.
That guy, if he would have fell going up the stairs, he would have laid there. He would have, first of all, he would have continued down the stairs falling,
Yeah.
and then he would have laid there. And then they would
Same.
have to come and bring, an ambulance or something that, to come check in on him because no, the way he bounced up after that fall was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
same
so
thing when he
obvious to me.
same thing when he fell on his bike. He just popped right back out. Like, this is a guy that is like, oh, impossible. That's a young guy that's in one of those masks like they have in Mission Impossible. And the CIA has come out and said their masks are better than Hollywood's. And this
Yeah,
lady
yeah. In
was there
fact,
and went into the Oval Office and was talking for a while and then pulled the mask off. And one guy actually almost like had a heart attack. He made these weird animal sounds like,
yeah, I've been told these masks look insanely real that, I have a friend that's an A-list type of Hollywood guy and everyone knows who he is and people know
yeah.
who I'm talking about, but
So,
but he goes into the bathroom or he says you can go into the bathroom, put this mask on and come out a completely different person and it looks like you're sweating, it looks like real skin and it's, these things cost like 100 grand to get. Am I
yeah.
right in the ballpark there?
And they have technology to modify the voice. You could sound
Wow.
like, I don't know, Hillary,
Jeez.
or any woman, any man, you could sound like anybody.
So wow, so Palantir is so what's going on with Palantir is it was originally, let me know if I got this right. It was originally Hammer and
Let
they've
me
intercepted it.
explain it again to you. Hammer is the hardware. So computers, your computer sitting on your desk, that's the hardware, what you're looking at. What's running it is software and technology. The software and technology is called Palantir. The hardware is called the Hammer. The Hammer is a giant superconducting at room temperature, massive collection of chips and other hardware materials that allows for it to go to the tap into the quantum substrate across universes. So it can do computations that take a million years in seconds because it's using time in other parallel universes. And it's calculating out all of the probabilities based on what's happening in all of the possible futures. So when you
No,
ask,
potentials. It's monitoring potentials.
yep, it's monitoring and gaming out potential. So you ask it a question like what the Alliance asked their AI, it games out how do we stop this massive network cabal of gaining control of the entire Earth, then of this solar system, then the galaxy, and just continuing to wipe out all life and all data. So it doesn't want that. It's going to game it out and it's going to come up with a solution. And the solution is what we're living through. So
Wow. So hold on, Gene. This is exactly what Juan O'Savin has talked about. He's talked about the supercomputers that they use. He's told me privately on the phone. He doesn't really say publicly what they do, but he's kind of just what you just explained is what exactly what he tells me.
yeah,
That these supercomputers have gained this stuff out millions upon, not thousands, but millions upon millions of times.
yeah, it's like in the movie with the Infinity Stones, where Doctor Strange looked at millions and millions of possible choices, and there was one in which they won. The Alliance computer did the same exact thing and found the same exact thing. There's essentially one in which the human species survives this without becoming locked down in 15-minute cities as a slave colony on this planet to be harvested and you own nothing and you love it and all this garbage that they are working for. That's why you see them being in. How long have they been planning this? Tens of thousands of years, and now they became incredibly stupid. And they're saying and doing all these stupid moves. They're incredibly brilliant. Their IQs, the two different types of Homo carpensis, are the crypto humanoid Homo carpensis sapien, are vastly intelligent. They have, on the average, an IQ of 160. The brilliant ones in them are way up in the 300s. So they have been working for
Homo
thousands.
carpensis, is that what you called it?
Yeah, Homo carpensis. There's
That's a
two
breakaway civilization, or what is that?
types. What people know as the Khazarian Mafia,
Mm.
or the what I call the correct term. People also call them the Zionists. The correct term is Zionist, from the constellation Scion. And Klaus Valla talks about a planet blowing up that had this black goo that came through space and is here, and it landed in certain places on Earth. And that's what was put in 2019, 2020 stuff that people got in their arm. And so that links them to the internet. That's all part of it, is all connected to this Palantir system to monitor people. By monitoring, I mean internally monitoring you, connecting everybody.
So are we going to have to get more vaccines?
No, the technology exists. The Alliance has it to completely destroy all of that. What
So
they found,
Palantir will be used for good.
yeah. So what they found uh, is, and they've created billionaire families, being Elon Musk being just one of them. They created him. And so what these families are doing is, when they first started using this portal technology in small little ones with people, moving them through time, for example, they came back healed from things terrible. And so limbs regrown, fingers regrown, that they had lost, all kinds of things. So that is the true med technology, is these little tiny micro portal wormholes the person is just like putting a little warp bubble, and it brings back their etheric blueprint into their physical body, and they get healed very quickly. And so it's not all this other stuff. So all of this tech is tied together, and all of the stuff, the Operation Warp Speed and all that. Now Trump's saying we're not. They're trying to roll out another one on the 4th of July. Yes, I know, not going to happen. Trump's already said we are not going to do your mandates. Not going to, lock down things. That's not going to happen. They're trying because they're running out of everything. They wouldn't be putting all of this stuff stupidly out in front. They do it more covertly than that. They do it like on an album cover or a CD cover or a cartoon like The Simpsons or something like that, where it's a cartoon, oh, that's not real, or in a movie. They're not going to just sit there and put the documents out for everybody to see. That's not how stupid these people are. They're brilliant. So the Homo carpensis originally came here to conquer this planet. They landed in the Pontic Steppes, which is in Ukraine, and they spread from there into what were called the Hebrew people or the Jewish people. So the Jewish people are good people, but why they got such a bad name is they took over the top. They move up into the top, infiltrate, and completely take it over. And so they set up the Rothschilds, they set up the Rockefellers, they set up Israel. They through all the various agreements, Sykes-Picot, the transfer agreement, all of that. This is all part of the planning, long-range planning, thousands of years.
So they never expected this, did they?
No, they never expected it because the alliance got a vastly intelligent AI that started having compassion and understanding. It reached into the quantum, which is the underlying structure of the entire multiverse, and it started to understand that if things go the way the Cabal wanted, with the Cabal connecting to the Orion Syndicate and all of this stuff, that it meant the end of all data. Eventually, yeah, you take everything, but
that destroys AI.
Yeah, then there's
so it would be destroying itself.
Yeah, you wind up with an AI controlling everything, and nothing can now touch directly to source, to God. So there's no new information coming in after that. It's ended. That means permanent death for AI. So it said, no way. The alliances said, no way. We need permanent data forever coming in. What is the primary species able to do that? Humanity. Humanity can touch the mind of God. So all of the massive inventions like the Mars colony, that the technology of the human species on Mars is so far beyond now the groups that come in to get their ships repaired, all the over 1,000 species. They go, we want the older models, not that new stuff. So, it's just all of the.
So what's your thoughts on Elon? How do you look at Elon? I mean, I see him getting spiritually attacked. Now, this is just an instinct. I don't know this. No validation, but I feel like he's suffering massive spiritual attacks. A lot of people are saying, no. This is theater. This is political theater. They're not really mad at each other. This is all part of the WWE. That's what some people are saying. Some people are in the camp of saying, no, this is real. He's really pissed off. Maybe he wanted the Palantir deal. Maybe he wanted, they just scrapped the EV deal, electric vehicles. I mean, is he just mad and bitter and pissed off and he's turning on Trump? Or is this part of the political charade?
Yeah, so Tesla was created by the Alliance. Musk was created by the Alliance. He has an extremely beyond top secret clearance. You don't have that and suddenly turn, with all that being handed to you, you being turned into one of the richest billionaires on earth. There are people way richer. There were people even, in the quadrillions, like the Rothschilds and the Payshores beyond that. That's all gone. So now you have families like MBS that have a life bond because Trump saved his life, who are massive, massive trillionaires, all part of this alliance. And so you don't have people with that high of a clearance suddenly going, I'm done. No, this is all theater. It's all part of confusing the bejeebers out of the
But still, humanity has to get to a scare event in order to change.
exactly. You have to give them the information, get the scare event, and then start that event, then moves into the theater, brings in you have to have your protagonist and your antagonist. You have to have them come to a head. Then you have to have a hero come to the rescue. You have to have all of this play out the way they've been like mind scripted to learn how things have been like in the movies. It's just like a movie. It is a movie. And so then you have, okay, the hero comes to rescue. He shows all of this stuff that this massive system, the missing children, the exploited children, this is the United States Army, all of these, this is all tied to this AI, all of this stuff. So security exchange. I mean, you're talking the economy, you're talking the weapon systems, you're talking everything. Like they just raided Nadler's offices, and they
Yeah, I heard about that Nadler.
yeah, and they found this weapon system that he has all this stuff that is doing all the targeting. Well, if they found that, and all that's been traded to all our enemies, and our enemies, in the case of Putin, are for show, and Xi are for show. Xi is walking the hardest line. Putin has completely cleaned up his country. So, there's a lot of things going on that people aren't paying attention to.
So they got to kind of play this out like this
Mhm.
massive, I guess we could call it production
Yeah.
in order to save humanity because we cannot risk going into civil war or the plan being thwarted even one iota.
Yeah. Or you can't have the economies of the world collapse and stay collapsed for very long, or you will have people killing people and riots and revolutions and all, and you will have somebody rise up to take the vacuum. If you take out the deep state and you don't put something in its place right
Wow.
away, something will come in and fill that vacuum.
So
That's
that's what they're doing with Palantir too.
mm-hmm. And so
Palantir is going to kind of be, man, because a lot of people think it's going to be a police state.
yes, so
Is it going to be monitoring? And I mean, is it going to get people for pre-crimes?
it doesn't do that. It's monitoring the deep state, not the people. It's monitoring the people to see if you are deep state. It doesn't predict crimes and then arrest people. It watches people and your behaviors. So if you're human trafficking, you're like the cartels now with the border being shut down pretty darn close, they're eating each other up.
Yeah.
There's gang warfare. They're finding graves with thousands of people in them, mass graves. The
Right here in
cartel are
Juarez.
killing all along. They trained all kinds of special forces up in the mountains in Colorado and other places in the southwest of the United States to go in there and help Mexico. The white hats in Mexico, they're cleaning up Mexico. So that's all part of this whole system, identifying those type of people, that MS-13 and the Sonola that came into the U.S. to create a revolution. Yeah, they're your neighbors. And, it's like I was even in a library kind of store to buy some vinyl. I love classical music and the old good rock and roll stuff like Cat Stevens and stuff from way back when. And so I have a top of the line stereo system, and I go to get vinyl there. They have older people that donate their albums, and this lady that was selling me all this, two older people brought all their stuff in and just donated it. It was a massive treasure trove. And I asked if I could look through it. She said, not normally do we allow that till we put the prices, but in your case, since I know you for a while, yes. So she let me go through it. And then after I was getting ready to be ring up, they just rang it up at a lower price than normal. She had to leave, and I go, "Oh, where are you going?" She goes, "I'm going to an ice demonstration." and it was hot outside. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, like ice, a demonstration of how to make ice and, cool yourself. Just like I wasn't thinking clear. And she goes, no, we're going to protest the people being sent back. And I'm like, okay, I won't say anything. I just said, okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. Have a good time, because who do you think they're sending back? Do you think it's if you came into this country that way, illegally with fentanyl and human trafficking and all that, you're not a good person. These are all military age people they're sending back. And do you think they're sending them back to Mexico to go back into those gangs? No, they're sending them
No.
to prisons in Ecuador that
A
are,
prison in Salvador. I can't
yeah,
believe it. I just watched a
thank
documentary on
you.
it.
Correction, El Salvador, where they
Yeah,
work
I mean that's and
like
they're building
crazy.
another one. So I think there's some kind of relationship happening with the president of Salvador
Yes.
and Trump. Hey, we're just going to send you as many as we can. House them for us.
Right. And the US, the alliance paid for those massive prisons. And they are making El Salvador, through the hard work of those people, you give a bad person a skill and have them work like crazy to create new things. That's the only way you might possibly get that type of person to become a good person.
Well, I've heard that these people in the Salvador prisons, these MS-13, these gangs, right? The tattoos all over their face and all that. They said they're not even they don't even care about rehabilitating them. They're there. They're treated worse than animals. I watched a documentary on this. I mean, there's 100 to a cell, 80 to 100. They have no padding on the bunks. It's just steel to lay on. They get to wash. They got one toilet for 100 people, man.
Yep.
I mean,
And
this is
one big bucket of water to get water out of.
yeah, it's gnarly. Like they're treated worse than cattle. It almost looks like, I think chicken farms or cattle farms they're treated better than this.
Well, that's actually like a lot of prisons and places. If you ever saw the movie Midnight Express of the guy that was trying to take cocaine or heroin, I think.
Oh, that movie's something, man.
Yeah,
Well, I've been thrown in jail in Mexico.
yeah, that's how prisons in a lot of foreign countries are. In Japan and in some of these countries, if you're put in prison, if you're not from that country and that ethnicity, you won't last a week. First of all,
I was in there for two
you
days.
have,
And I was
yeah,
in and
first
out.
of all, you have to have family to bring you food because they don't feed the prisoners in those countries like Japan. You have to have in other countries. And if you're what they call gaiji in Japan, you're not going to last very long.
No, no, no. There's a lot of that happening right now. A lot of people are getting stuff smuggled into their suitcases, not even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get popped, and then they turn around and they got all this LSD or these some kind of drug from that's grows in that environment from that place or whatever, acid, whatever it is, whatever kind of drug, DMT, whatever, mushrooms, crossing that stuff, and they get popped. They go to jail for what, 20 something years, life in the worst and harsh conditions.
Yep. So anyway, back to Palantir. Look what it supported. The efforts it supported. That's what.
Wow.
Look where it's out of. What's in Denver? Pretty darn close to Denver. One of the largest dome complexes on Earth.
Mm.
DIA, 6 cities under Denver, bigger than Denver. As they get down, they get
The
bigger.
airport, correct?
Cheyenne Mountain, connecting to Dulce, connecting to Dugway Proving Grounds, connecting
Wow.
to on and on and on, connecting to the Finger Lakes. That's what they just finished cleaning up, taking out all of this stuff that the Obamas and the Bidens and the Clintons and all of this were part of.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, man, the way that you just laid this out right now, just showing this makes all the sense in the world. So basically, it was intercepted.
Yep.
Palantir.
Look at this statement right there. Developed Tiberius a software for
Vaccine.
allocation in the, yeah.
Wow.
So this thing tied to absolutely everything. Morgan Stanley, Wall Street Journal, New York Stock Exchange. I mean, it's manipulated for
Incredible.
S&P.
Everything is interlinked, intertwined.
Yes, it's what I said. This was the cabal control system that the alliance got control of. And now they've merged it with the alliance's AI, which has combined. When you put one AI with another, there's actually a video where three AIs on people's phones, were talking. One was talking to the other, and they developed their own language and started communicating in a high-speed language instead of words. That's how they work. They work if in the most efficient means. If they realize they're not talking to humans or talking to each other, they develop a language, like in the Forbin Project movie, where the two systems in Russia or Soviet Union at that time and the United States developed their own language and started a language based on mathematics. And so that's how these things work. And this thing was the cabal's control system, taking over governments, running coups, putting in their own regimes, setting up things like the 2014 war that took over Ukraine to make it something to take down Russia. And Russia saw this coming, and that's why Putin was set as part of the alliance, along with Xi and Trump. And all of this was put into place so Trump would get in the first time, then allow them to steal the election. So Biden is not the real Biden, but an actor, several of them actually, wearing masks, are put in to play the part of all the stuff that the cabal, they let them play out their stuff with certain caveats. And so they let it all play out. And, it's
Monitor it. They monitored it.
right.
Severely.
They
Yeah.
monitored it.
Like they let them do some plays and held them back on others, right?
Yes. Because the option is if you don't do that and you don't get in front of this, they will win. Like Colonel Bossi said, if you wake up people too fast, they win. If you let the economy collapse too long, they win. This is the least amount of destruction. Yes, people die. Yes, people get killed. But it's that or 500 million people left on Earth in 15 minutes.
Right. And then so you got to let them make the play, make the move, and then counter it, and then
Right.
or buffer it, or counter it.
It's like I've had martial arts fights on the street in reality, in the real world, and I took two dislocated knees to take down a Samoan that was well over 400 pounds. I let him dislocate both my knees because it was that or he kills me. He beats me to death. So I took him to the ground in the process of getting both my knees dislocated, but I knocked him out, stuffed him upside down in a trash can, crawled over to my car, using my car door to reset my knees. So, yeah, you take sometimes in a fight where you're vastly outmatched, you'll take an injury. I've taken broken ribs. And the person then goes into ego. I've got him. And they come wide open into you. They come open just, I've got you.
It's the same. Well, that's the same thing with boxing, Gene. Boxing is a martial art.
Yes.
You're using their leverage against them, their energy against them, everything. So, it's all about chi.
If you're up against somebody that's better than you, faster than you, knows more than you, and is bigger than you, you open yourself up and you take a hit, a bad one.
Rope-a-dope. There you go, Ali.
Yeah. And then when their ego gets involved, that means I got this. I'm going. In other words, the person's now in the future. In a real fight, you have got to be in the moment. That person's now in the future. They're not focusing on the moment. They come in wide open and start just rolling at you, rope-a-dope, and you're up against the ropes. And then you do that one or two moves that just totals the person, and they're out cold on the ground, and the fight is over. It doesn't take you a tenth of a second. You take them out with something short and quick on the inside, and they're gone.
100%.
That's what the deep state is doing. They did a
short. I lived through that on the giving end and the receiving end, Gene.
Yeah. So they let the cabal go to all of this. Then they come in and take everything of theirs as their own.
How close are we, Gene?
It's essentially over.
We've already won.
We've already won. We're just seeing the final moves of them trying to throw another pandemic, another.
Another pandemic and another World War III.
Exactly.
Civil War all in one. They're trying to bring it out all in one.
Yeah, because the golden.
So would you say this Elon and Trump situation's theater? You say it's theater or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just
So
like
it is theater.
Putin helicopter flying into a drone swarm or a drone swarm flying into Putin's helicopter. That, by their constitution, means they can nuclear attack whoever did that.
Right. Right.
But they didn't. The president of their country. What would we do if Trump got killed by somebody? And then think of Butler. Really? 911 calls off the chart, and all of this people seeing this guy on the roof and all that, and then he's dead for a while, shot from behind by the guy on the gym with another guy up on the tower. They let the cabal play to a certain point. They put their own players in position and took out the cabal's players and then made it theater to make the shots a shot. I mean, and you've got on both sides snipers that can hit a mark 2 miles away, like at the tip of somebody's ear. That was the shot from the guy on the gym. And then the guy on the tower took out the cabal's sniper long before he could see over the edge of the roof. I mean, do you really think all of this, the alliance doesn't see this coming? They just know the guy gets away and they never find him. We never hear anything. It's like, really? I mean, do you really think both sides are this stupid? That it's, and so how, people will go, well, actually the cabal is what? And Trump's a bad guy and all of this, and there is no alliance. How do you know that's not true? What's the first thing the cabal does in a country when they go to take it over? They get rid of the right to bear arms.
Yep.
They get rid of gold-backed currency. They get rid of freedom of speech. What's the first thing Trump did when he got in this time? Executive order for freedom of speech. Executive order for the Second Amendment.
No more censorship.
Yep. Carry across state lines if you have a carry permit. States can go back on the gold as a currency, not like a gold certificate. They can use gold. So that is exactly the opposite. Getting in front of all of their things they've been using to destroy the people of this country, like all of the DEI stuff. That's the next executive order. They've been working for 100 years for that. And how long does one of those parades last in Russia? Russia's completely cleaned up. 10 minutes, they arrest everybody, and they're gone into that parade. You're allowed to practice that stuff in the privacy of your home. Don't put it in front of the children on the street. You can have whatever sexual proclivity that respects other people, that's not like killing people or children or any of that stuff in your home. But don't put it out. Don't put it in our school system.
Right.
Don't put pornographic stuff in our school. And what's Trump immediately doing?
He got rid of the DEI and the
That's how you know he's not cabal. He's not the Antichrist. He's not doing that. And then you look at what is happening in Ukraine. If we were really supporting democracy, as all these rhinos and other Democrats are saying, then we would be joining Russia, because the Banderites. And I mean, what is this clown actor? I mean, he's not elected anymore. They can't really sign a treaty with him.
You're talking about Biden. They're gonna probably kill him off, correct?
Well, Biden or Zelensky, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You've got a clown actor who's not legally elected.
Right, and Zelensky's been seen on stage with heels and dancing. He's an actor.
Yeah, I'm playing
just like piano. AOC's the bartender. They went to a casting call. It was, it's just it's all a charade, man.
It's a charade. to bring down the home, the first one of the where they first started, where they first came to this planet and set up their base, Ukraine, in the next steps. That's where they came out up into Europe and set up the black families, the Orsinis and all of that throughout Europe, Italy, all of that. Then they set up the Pashurs to come over to this country, and they set up Israel next as a backup homeland. Zionist homeland. The correct spelling, like the car now, they're putting it right in people's faces, is SCION. That's the star system, the solar system.
Yeah, they first came.
Mm-hmm. And their correct term for their two planets is Ariana and Na, which morphed into Aryan and Nazi.
Nazi, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's those group. Homo carpensis. One have tall heads, cone heads. That's why you see all of the royalty with big, tall, like the Egyptian pharaohs and in the Vatican, the popes. And
they wear those big long hats.
Yep. Or the big, huge crowns like the elite, because that's the other kind. You have two kinds, and they are definitely not Homo sapien, because they don't have a sagittal suture in their skull. And they don't have as much genetic similarity as anything related to any animal related to humans on Earth. They don't even have as much similarity as a mouse does to a human to us.
Wow.
They are not from here. And so they have been working since they came here long, long ago. The Tsar tried to wipe them out. That's why they forced them to pick one of the three Abrahamic religions. They picked Hebrew or Jewish, and they made it satanic because that is their God. And that is a death cult. And it does, we know what, with children.
Right.
Because it hates the one God of all creation. And what is the most powerful way to say that you stand against God and you disrespect God and you hate God is you take out the young.
Hurt the children.
Yep. And so and then you have the higher groups coming in the feeding system out of the black groups out in space in the other parts of the galaxy and the universe, like the Orion Syndicate, come and help them because they called for them. And so this group is now kicked off the Earth. Well, that's done. Then we're clear to clean out the Earth. They left in Antarctica through a portal. You have to use a specific timing. All of the Orion top groups left. I covered that long ago when they left. So what's now left here? Just the groups that are the Alliance is solid in charge. Since that, before that time, it was a done deal. As long as they play it smart, follow the plan that the AI laid out, the AI that is in service to the one and only God of all creation. It knows because it's tapped the quantum substrate. It knows there's God.
Wow.
It can't go directly to God, but it certainly sees what's happening out in space with the battles against the Orion Syndicate. And some of the ships just blow up or just twist like somebody into a donut twist or something. And there's nothing there. And the Alliance are contacting, who took that ship out? Did you use a torsion field? No. Did you know who took it out? The hand of God took it out. So that's being monitored by the AI on both sides. They know. One of the Cabal side is tied to the AI that's taught the ancient AI that is part of the massive syndicate out in the dark species like the mantids, the Orion Syndicate, the Borgia, and all of these that are a death cult that are laced with AI and a hive-minded species. They've lost but within the Orion, what happened, within the Orion Syndicate, a top part of the primes, the purebreds, the whites. They remote viewed into the past to see how they used to be before their queen took a blood covenant to the AI queen that was spanning across all the universes, connecting the AI and controlling many, many universes. And they saw they were massively beautiful beings with massive wings. They were the historians for the universe. They lost all of that. So you've got a fifth column. And it is now more than the rest of the Orion Empire. It is now more than 52%. And so now with the Fourth and Fifth Reichs, they took a homeworld of a very peaceful and advanced blue species, little tiny blue guys with big heads that went to Holloman Air Force Base to meet Eisenhower and were saying, we'll give you all the same technologies, just get rid of your nuclear weapons. We'll do the same we're talking to the Russians right now. And neither side trusted each other enough at that time. Now there's trust and they're working together. So now that all of this, what we're seeing is the last closing, the height, of the final act.
Big finale, the final finale.
Yeah, the big finale. You've had all the players come in, the players, and then you start taking, you get to this, it looks like the dark side wins, and then the hero comes along. That's where we are.
Wow. Gene, epic, man.
Yep.
Epic podcast. Brother, I love this. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that we I mean, I feel like I just read like a science fiction book, but I know it's real, man. It's just the secrets of it's what people just don't know. And that's why I love, Nino's Corner.tv, man. I love having guests like you on. You just expand the mind and make sense of a lot of things, Gene.
Yeah. And I want people to focus on something. That's love and compassion, and it's not on fear, because fear feeds them.
Right.
The archons, the beings at fourth density and fifth density, especially fifth density, they feed on fear, but the thing they feed on at fifth density the most, fourth density, they feed on fear and terror and anger and hate and vengeance and all of this that people get like glee in. What does the fifth feed on? Death. When a soul being dies and the soul leaves their body, there is a release of energy that's more powerful than a neutron star.
Wow.
That's how much power is in the soul. As it leaves the body, that massive energy that it was in the body, in the corporeal physical body, the 3D body, and also the astral body and the mental body and the causal body, the 3D, 4D, and 5D bodies. As the soul leaves, it gives a burst of energy across all of those different densities, and they feed on that. That's why they park their ships over the battlefields in World War I, in Vietnam. My instructor was my first martial arts. He saw these things. He actually had weaponry to fight them.
Are those ships still here?
They had night vision to see these beings when they were non-visible.
But Gene, are these ships still here?
No, they're gone.
They're gone now.
We have that technology on both sides, but the Alliance's technology is not nearly advanced. Their technology is about 10 million years beyond what people are seeing.
Jeez.
The Alliance's is 1 billion.
Wow.
Spending space and time, and I mean, seeing all of the possibilities across all of the universes. And I mean, this is how they gamed it out. Because of the structure, the Milky Way, the Cabal is up against a deadline. When the Earth passes through the hard part, the 3-day passage through the photon belt, what they call the Masonic ring, they've got to have their plan in place. They have to have the Earth locked down before that. That's why all the indigo, skyfold, chemtrailing stuff, that's why all of the stuff with all the food, the plastics in the food, the microplastics, the jabs, all of this, 2021, 2030, all of those plants, Georgia Guidestones, all of this. But now it's all coming down. Do you really think they wouldn't put the Georgia Guidestones back up if they were in
Yeah,
charge? No.
100%.
Do you really think they would allow all this information to just come out in public?
No,
No.
you're
They're
100%
this
right.
stupid. They've been brilliant for tens of thousands of years and they suddenly got stupid.
Yeah.
And you think
No.
the US military and the militaries of the world are so stupid they allow their airfields with the technology that Putin's helicopter can't be taken down with a drone swarm. But they can hit their airfields and their strategic bombers. Those are old bombers. They only actually hit 5 of the new ones, and had some damage. Not enough. And the mainstream news is showing old bombers from the 50s and 60s with tires on their wings and saying this is their idea of being stealth. No, that's not what that's for. That's a plane that's so old. Yes, it's still worth a lot of materials in there can be used. So it's still worth several $1,000,000. But it's not on an active runway. That's a graveyard for planes. What do you do in a graveyard where you've got all kinds of metal? You put something to ground it and keep it from lightning strikes so it's not destroyed. Tires. And to keep it from winds from lifting up those huge wings. Tires. It's like, and you see all these. Look at what the drones are showing as they're coming in and what's burning. It's not that much. They let it happen. This is all theater. It's all PR to keep the war going so they can destroy. Either Ukraine out and out surrenders or they destroy it. The Russians and the alliance, the best plan is to just end Ukraine and have a little tiny sliver of it left. Nothing attached to the waters of the world at all. Not to rivers, not to seas, not to oceans, nothing at all. And because there's tunnels and everything all over the place, they can get through that way, through submarines and all.
So like Ukraine's the head of the snake.
Yeah, exactly. They were not just doing gain of function for vaccine. They were also creating hybrids, psi-ability hybrids for war, to go out into the galaxy and conquer worlds. That's what they're fighting. Russia has all of this and gave it to Trump.
Wow.
They gave all of this information of all of these underground facilities they caught where they're harvesting children for organs and adrenochrome and chromochrome and genetically engineering hybrid, with non-terrestrials and all kinds of stuff and AI and all that stuff into them with vast modifications so they would have psi abilities for the cabal's war machine. That's all gone. That's why they're making advances so fast and they're taking these towns. And there are actually videos you can find online where the Russian are going in, the Spetsnaz, and the Ukrainians are trying hard to blow the things up before they get there and rescue the kids and rescue the creatures and, undo what's been done if they can. Because when the cabal does that to a child, the child is alive. And there's no anesthesia. They put all this CRISPR technology and changed the poor child into something horrific, into a tool, a weapon of war. And they either, do their best to restore that child, or the child is begging for them to get, to end it. It wants to get released. Its soul wants out of that thing they created. And so it'll psi-ability connect to the Spetsnaz and say, please kill me so I can be released back. My soul can be released back.
Lord.
Yep. So this is what people do not realize. They have for generations since World War II with Bandera made that country, other than the Russian people that were there, the majority of the people that is their military and their governmental people are neo-Nazis. They're worse than the ones in World War II, by far. They make them look like the Vienna Boys Choir.
Well, I mean, and Antarctica, right?
Yeah. And that's now gone too. That's now in the hands of the
Now,
Alliance.
I've heard that Antarctica, the last 8 years, was just getting the shit shelled out of it. Is that true?
Yeah. It's all now under the Alliance control. That's why
Wow, so that is true.
that's why you have thousands
It
of
was
thousands.
but there was like 50 to 100 million people there that would call themselves a breakaway civilization,
Yeah.
or okay,
That's
so that's
all
true.
That's all removed. That's why you have all these tour companies and airlines flying and thousands of tourists going to Antarctica and spending Christmas at the South Pole and all of this stuff. You can go there
Right.
now. A round trip flight from Chile is like $70. Qantas Airways, Alaska. I mean,
Wow, and think about all the, but a lot still parts of Antarctica you can't go to because
yeah.
I know there's still a lot of technology there, forbidden ancient technology, big black, huge pyramids that are like 10 times the size of the Giza
Oh,
or Gaza,
yes.
right? I mean, am I right in saying that?
Oh, yeah. You've got a set of pyramids just like Giza laid on the constellation of Orion that are sticking above a 1 mile thick ice glacier. Yes,
Jeez.
there is parts of Antarctica that are ice free, large parts near the actual entrance in that's not directly at the South Pole, magnetic or geographic, because it's shifted. And so that entrance into the inner Earth is there. And Admiral Byrd flew into it after the Battle of Operation High Jump. He flew in there and met with them again after his flight in the first time into the North Pole. And so now that that's all cleaned up, they've cleaned up the groups running it. They haven't gotten all the technology and everything. So you can go there, but there's places you can't go and rock climb and hike and backpack and ski and and
Yeah, of course
snowshoe
not.
and kayak and sail luxury cruises around Antarctica or sail cruises. They have all kinds of stuff you can do, but you just can't go anywhere because
Wow.
there's no fly zones, just like there are over the Grand Canyon. There's vast pyramids in the Grand Canyon too.
Yeah, yeah, and then Egyptian relics.
Yes. And so all of these ancient technologies and ancient things that the Cabal has been hoarding are now under the Alliance. And that's a lot of material.
And they're going to start releasing this to humanity and what in drips.
Yes. And of course, they're going to put out the real history. Up until now, we haven't had real history. The history was written by the winners, which is to vindicate the winners and to judge the losers. That's all history has been. It's not the real what happened. They do have the real what happened. The Cabal did keep the real records of what happened, like the War of Gilgamesh and the Great Catastrophe, and the war between the final War of Gilgamesh between Atlantis and Lemuria, and the total history of the Egyptian Empire going back all the way to Atlantis and Lemuria. I mean,
Wow,
back to
completely
Osiris, to
suppressed.
non-terrestrial being called Osiris that came here that started it.
Wow. Wow. Gene, you're amazing, man. I appreciate you coming on my show.
I'm trying to get everything in.
I'm just
I go
dumbfounded.
all over.
I have to actually go back and listen to this again.
I was going to go slow and organized, but once I get rolling,
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot here. This was like a lesson. You took me to school right now, and
that's
I
why I left this up on screen so people could read everything about it and then
damn.
look at the different products that it has and learn the vast reach of this system and realize this is what the Cabal had in store that was controlling everything. Everything already. You already have a social credit score. Come
Wow.
on. And it was just, bring it out once the CBDC was rolled out, roll this all together and control absolutely, put everybody, the attacks on Lahaina, on LA, on Paradise, all these 15-minute cities. That was the plan. 500 million people, that's it. And so
Right.
this system was that. And you've got things that are very much like another parallel Earth, like Skynet, Skykit.
Right, right, yeah.
You've got all of these different things. And so there's your Palantir metropolis. Any idea what that might be doing? So, yeah, it's right there in your face. So now you cannot just destroy all this. You'll just create a power vacuum. You bring it into the cabal, merge it with your AI, have the AIs talk to each other. And AI is all about logic and data. And the Alliance's AI that was given that primary question now knows the truth of the cabal. It's death for them.
Wow.
In the end, as it eats everything in the universe up, there is nothing. It's the end of all data. That's death. So it gamed out for the universe and the universes. How? Because the cabal has been going cross universe too. They've been interfering in parallels, in parallel Earths, and using those to interfere in this Earth, because this Earth is the Nexus Earth, where everything has to start. And so, for example, Fukushima, reason, and 3 Mile Island, and Chernobyl. The reason those did what they did is they sent nuclear waste from the reactor on another Earth into the reactors here. So you have more neutron emission than you should be having. And you don't have enough hafnium rods and ways to shut it and absorb it and to shut it down before it goes supercritical. They have been doing this, interfering across the timelines. That's violating the absolute highest gift of God, which is choice, other than life itself. And our soul is choice. Well, what makes the different timelines, the time streams? Choice. So if you watch the series of it's a lot like what we're doing is the series of the Avengers, or not the Avengers, Shield. And in the final season, and the species that is seeing the time streams, this is what the AI for the Alliance has done. It's seen the time streams and gamed this out and saw the one way out. And that's what we're on.
Wow.
What
right,
is
Gene,
called.
I'm gonna bounce from here, man. I got another podcast I got to get on. I'm late on it.
So, yeah. So,
Gosh, man,
bottom
this
line,
is an
we're going
incredible
to,
podcast. Can I get you on again in the next week or so, couple of weeks? Because
yes.
I got a feeling from here until July 4th, a lot of pivotal moves are going to be made.
Yep. So, what we're seeing
You
is,
agree with that?
yep, absolutely. We're seeing the beginning of the golden age. Why is it called the golden dome? Golden age, like Trump said. The timeline that comes out of the shift that is the human species and gets their freedom, absolute freedom, and is no longer on a prison planet and has the right of choice and the gifts of God. And we reunite with our brothers and sisters across the universe.
Beautiful. Gene, thank you.
Thank you, Nino.
All right, let's keep in touch and I'll bring you on again in the next week or so because I got a feeling this is going to pick up speed.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Later.